Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, Carrie?
I'm well. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you.
Good.
Hello, Victoria.
Victoria,
Sorry,
you're muted.
Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Uh, So are you guys on the committee on committees? Are you members of that committee?
Hi, I'm Terry Berthlot. I will be chairing the meeting tonight. The other folks I see right now are folks who will be interviewing. And are you here in that role as well?
I'm here to represent the Human Services Advisory Committee.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Before the meeting gets started, I'll let you all know that our chair of the committee is on personal leave, and the other member of our committee, Charlie Osberger, wasn't at our last meeting. So we were not going to be making decisions tonight about actually recommending people to the committees. But we will do the interview.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll do that first, and then we'll move on to talk about the Human Services Committee charge. Make sense?
Yes.
I thank you all for being here. We'll give Charlie a minute more to get on the line, and if he doesn't show up, that'll be okay. I can do the interviews.
I just want to say that I love the name Committee on Committees. It's my favorite committee name.
It is very funny. Yes, I agree. There's Charlie.
Yeah.
And there's Pat. Hi, Charlie.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I was
Good.
on the call.
No worries. No worries at all. All righty. It looks like we're recording. Is that right, Sarah Ann?
Sounds like it, yep.
Yes, that's right.
All righty. So as I said a moment ago, I am Terry Berthelot. Tonight I'll be chairing the Committee on Committees. I'm going to now call the meeting to order. And I'm gonna note, as I said to the group before, that tonight's kind of unusual in that our chair of the committee is out on personal leave, and Charlie, who is here with us now, Charlie Osberger, wasn't here at the last meeting. So because of that, I'm gonna skip over the approval of minutes and postpone that till our next meeting. Is that okay, Sarah Ann?
Yes, that works just fine, Terry. Thank you for checking.
And I said this a minute ago, but I'll say it again. Because Charlie wasn't able to be here at our last meeting, and because Sam is not here tonight, we're going to do interviews first. And they'll be very casual interviews for those of you who haven't done that before. And then after you interview, you're free to stay if you like, or you can get off the call. There's no real reason to stay unless you're just kind of curious. Charlie?
Is there a call to order or roll call, or did I miss that?
I will note for the record that you and I are both here. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
So I lost my train of thought. Okay, so we'll do that first. We will not make any decisions tonight about who will be on various committees because of Charlie not being here at the last meeting and Sam not being here. So we'll make decisions in February. And after we do the various interviews, then we'll move on to talk to the folks, or the one person who's kind enough to be here from the Human Resources or Human Services Committee. Thank you. All righty. So the next thing on our agenda is opportunity for public comment. Is Sarah Ann, is there anybody here for just public comment?
No, Terry, I don't have anyone here specifically for public comment.
All righty, terrific. Okay, and as I said before, we're not going to approve the minutes again because Charlie wasn't able to be here. So that moves us forward to candidate interviews. So we have folks here who are we have one person here I see for the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And I'm sorry, your name looks more difficult than my last name. Would you
It's
please
okay.
be so kind as to say your name?
Yeah,
Sure.
I know. So you can just call me Berdak. So that's it. So
Burdock.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that, Burdock. And if you don't mind, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving on the Sustainability Committee? Or
Okay.
I'm sorry, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Sure. Well, yeah, they are somehow interrelated. Thank you, and good evening, everybody. And my apologies, especially for Sarah and other members, that I missed my interview last December. Just that there was some confusion with the time, so I'm sorry about that. And thanks for giving me another opportunity. And myself, Berdah, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Connecticut, Civil and Environmental Engineering Department, and I'll be graduating soon, sometime this year from my PhD program. And I've been like in different capacities involved in sustainability issues and like waste reduction, reuse, and other sort of other related projects, events. And personally, again, I'm from Uzbekistan originally. It's a Uzbek Republic. It's a part of the former USSR, Soviet Union. And especially, again, I come from that area where, I don't know if you have heard, there used to be fourth largest inland lake in the world. It used to be called Aral Sea, and which dried up just in front of us during last 40 years. So I was born just at the shores of this Aral Sea, and I kind of firsthand experienced what are the it's environmental disaster and all this kind of stuff. So since my childhood, I was very much into this all sustainability issues, water resources, natural resources, and one of them being, of course, now we are in a global ocean. We are talking, when we are talking about the global ocean, it's a water waste reduction, waste disposal, and other issues. So living in Mansfield area for the last 6-7 years, this opportunity came out from Virginia Walton. Actually, the offer came out, and then I said, yeah, why not? And let me be helpful and useful in that capacity as much as I can, because as I said, like I've been mostly in teaching capacity of sustainability and waste and food waste reduction and other stuff. And if I can be related, involved in this policy making level somehow within the town, so yeah, I'll be happy to be helpful. So that's the kind of the motivation, I guess.
Thank you for that. That's super helpful. And I can't agree with you more. When we think about waste management, it's a huge issue for our community and for the country and for the world. I don't want to put you on the spot, so if you don't have a ready answer for this, don't worry about it. But do you have any ideas in the sense of what Mansfield might be doing better in terms of our waste management?
Well, I've been attending the solid waste advisory committee meetings for November and December meetings, and that's when I first hand started knowing what they are doing, how they are doing, and I think they are doing an excellent job in many aspects. And however, like back in 2019 or 18, I don't remember, Virginia Walton came to one of our lecture as a guest speaker, and she was talking about this plastic reduction, and that the Mansfield is trying, sorry, Connecticut overall trying to impose this mandatory avoidance of using the plastic, or like paying for the plastic. So then at that time I said, well, no, I think it was like 2000. She was saying that it's going to happen like from next year, something like that. So I said, wow, that's like very late. Like she said, what do you mean very late? I said, Uzbekistan is very like third world country, and we've been doing it like for a couple years, 2-3 years ago, since 2-3 years ago. So she was surprised. So again, there are many things that Mansfield is like, as I said, as I came to know from November and December meetings, that they are doing awesome job. Yet definitely there are things that that could be sort of, I guess, like arranged in a well, again, you know, because my thinking is a little bit different from your thinking, because of from where I'm coming from. You know, in our country everything is like government imposing, so here it's just vice versa, it's from the bottom to up, right? So which is kind of how it should be in reality, I believe. So sometimes like I don't understand why like, you know, why do you just make a law and then just impose it? No, I know that that's not how it works here. So yeah, I have some ideas and stuff like that, but let me see how it goes, if I can be helpful in any way. Like maybe I could be helpful as a researcher, like in analyzing some of the proposals, doing some calculus stuff, and coming up with some sort of justification for whatever we should be doing in future.
Terrific. Thank you. Charlie, did you have any questions for Burdock? Can't hear you.
Oh, I lost the picture. Yes, actually. Hey, Burdock, I applaud you coming over here. I traveled over to Ukraine back in 2000, and I know the infrastructure there was spotty at best, and very difficult to see, you know, a way through, but the people just forge on and go about their lives. And I imagine it's somewhat culture shock here, I would say,
Yep.
between here and there.
Absolutely.
I guess my question is where do you see growth in our solid waste management? You don't necessarily have to answer this, but do you see any places where in town, in your experiences, where we could?
Yeah. Again, I honestly not very much familiar how I don't have the full picture yet. So without having full picture, it is difficult to comment on any weak spots or the strong spots. But I'm always curious, like I personally, and like many, maybe most of us don't know, we are trying our best to sort of, for example, follow these 3R, like, reduce, reuse, and recycle stuff, right? And especially reduction and reuse, something that we can, it depends on us. Like personally, I can make decision on this first and second one. But when it comes to the recycle, yeah, there is my part, my role, that I should be sort of sorting out the plastics into plastics, the paper into the paper, for example. But the other part of that recycle issue doesn't depend on me. It depends on the infrastructure that the waste recycling company, and how they handle it, and how much of that being recycled. All of those things are it's dark to me yet. So and also I live in a multi family apartment, and I don't like how this recycle and the trash management is being organized there. Personally, I try to, every time when I see something wrong with this recycling and the trashing stuff, that I immediately write to the office, and they try to send messages to everybody. Hey, you shouldn't be doing that, for example. So, and I understand that with multifamily, in multifamily apartments, the waste management are issue, waste management is a little bit of an issue, because again, we can't change everybody's mind and behavior. But certainly we could think of, like, about the ways, like how could we encourage people, motivate them to be more friendly, at least like in terms of to sort the things at least properly, instead of like dumping everything into the trash. And that's not something only with the where I'm living. For example, I've been at UConn. In our office, we used to see 22 students, and all of us PhD students. Okay, and some of them are environmental engineering students, some of them are civil engineering students, and I do see that every morning, like, we are mature people, environmental engineering students. They come, they have a coffee mug in their hand, like got it from the Starbucks, which is perfectly recyclable. But what they do is they just dump it in the trash. But he or she is an environmental engineering PhD student, for example. So again, these are the things happening everywhere, and I understand it's difficult to change the minds of the people, but definitely there is a room for us to think about, like, how can we change the things, I guess.
Very good.
But it disturbs me. It bothers me.
Yeah, it is hard with it. And we all have to know how much personal responsibility we need to take, but it's great when the town can take some action as well. So thank you for stepping up. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I mean, that's it, I think. I mean, well, I don't have any questions. I have questions to that committee, to the solid waste advisory committee, that I'll be contacting Virginia for that. But yeah.
Terrific. And Ginny's wonderful. She's actually made our town a leader in the state, or actually in the country on this front.
Yeah.
Of course, we can do better, but she's definitely been terrific.
Sure.
So that said, as I've said before, we're not going to make any decisions about who to recommend to the town council for positions. We'll do that in February. And even then, that'll be a recommendation to the town council. So it'll probably even be pushed forth to March before there's actually an established committee.
Okay.
So I do appreciate you being here, Burdock. You're welcome to stay, but don't feel any pressure to do that.
Sure.
Okay, that said.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Charlie. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good night and stay warm.
Bye now.
Bye.
All righty. I see Kathy Ward. Hi, Kathy.
I apologize for being late. I had to figure out what Zoom link. I had the wrong one.
Yes, it
So my
gets us all.
apologies.
It gets us all these days.
Yeah.
And then it's, oh, and I need a password and
Yeah.
So thanks for being here and for all the work you do for our town. So again, with affordable housing, the same issue with Charlie having missed the last meetings, Sam not being here tonight. The other issue with affordable housing is we're going to be waiting for a decision from the ethics committee regarding whether or not there might be a conflict of interest. And we don't need to go into that tonight, but just so you know that may slow down the process a little bit.
Mhm.
So Kathy, tell us about yourself, please, and why you're interested in the Affordable Housing Committee.
I think it was back around 2014, maybe somewhere around there. I was invited to speak with myself and a few other people from the Mansfield Housing Authority to speak with Matt Hart about how we could get a housing trust program going in Mansfield. And he was very enthusiastic about that. So were we. At that time, I was a commissioner on the Mansfield Housing Authority, which I eventually had to resign from because I wanted to join the Board of Ed. But I'm still very involved with the Housing Authority. I'm president of a very small nonprofit, Mansfield Nonprofit Housing Development Corporation, who our sole goal is to develop affordable housing in our town. We firmly believe that housing is a right, just as healthcare is a right. Housing is a right. If we have stable housing, if we have affordable housing in our town, it can stabilize employment. We can have people that can live in our town, walk to work, whether it's at the dining halls or at the nursing center. We just don't have enough of it. So it's been a passion of mine. As you know, we have a project that we're trying to get going with the wonderful help of the town on South Eagleville. We also have a committee that we are working collaboratively with the Housing Authority to look at what other projects in the future we can start developing. And one of the first one that comes to mind is we're looking at renovation and additions to Holinco and adding a lot more affordable housing units. The housing trust would really help us get these kind of things going. So I have a lot of interest in the trust. I have a lot of interest in affordable housing. And I do understand that my position, there could be a conflict of interest. And even if I could just be of service for a year until we get the trust off the ground, I'd be happy to do that. But it's a passion of mine. And I also think it's going to help with, enticing families to come in to our town and enjoy our wonderful new school building. So it's a win-win for everyone. It's the right thing. It increases diversity. It's a passion of mine.
Thanks, Kathy. I can't agree with you more. Affordable housing is there's one thing we're really missing. It's that and safe transportation for people. So, and affordable housing could help on the transportation issue to some extent, but so important for bringing in new families and diverse families, but also thinking about our aging community and people living with disabilities. Anybody on a fixed income, super, super important. So I don't have questions for you. You've anticipated anything I might have asked. Thank you so much. Charlie, you have anything for Kathy? I think that says you're A-okay. Or are we waiting?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All righty, Kathy, welcome to stay. And the ethics meeting, the Board of Ethics meeting, I think is the 25th. Does that sound right, Sarah Ann?
Terry, I have to say I don't have a confirmed, at least as of yesterday when I looked, I didn't see a confirmed date, but I have heard strong rumors that yes, it's somewhere in the 20s of this month they're supposed to be meeting.
And my intent is to go to that meeting. Absolutely, the Affordable Housing Committee could use everything you've got to bring. So we'll let you know how it goes. Thank you for being here.
Even if it's just to get the housing trust off the ground, I'm more than happy to serve in any way. And I do understand the ethics issue, if that is what the outcome is. But thank you very much for the time. Thank you for everything you do, and good night.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
All righty, who is next? I see Carrie Kosher. Am I
Coker.
One more time.
Carrie Coker.
Coker. Thank you so much for being here. You've
you.
heard what I asked, so if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the Affordable Housing Committee.
Okay. I have been a resident of Mansfield for about 10 years. I'm a lifelong Connecticut resident. I've been thinking for some time about finding a way to serve more actively in the community, not really being sure what role I might like to fill. And recently, an email came across my desk about the formation of the Mansfield Affordable Housing Committee. And this particular opportunity intrigued me for a variety of reasons. Like Kathy, I share an interest in affordable housing for several reasons. I think that Mansfield would benefit from more affordable housing to promote more financial equality, more racial and ethnic diversity. I'm also a registered nurse by background, and I feel that having safe, secure, and affordable housing is a human right, and that it is foundational to the support and care of other health needs of people in our community. So I was drawn to this committee for that reason. As I said, my background is in registered nursing, but I also have a degree in economics and a degree in communication and information management. So I could bring some of those skills to the table. And basically, again, this would just be an opportunity for me to serve this community and also to learn more about a topic that I'm really interested in, and to contribute what I could to the cause.
Well, boy, I sure appreciate your words of wisdom. Housing is so core to everything else. If you don't have a roof over your head and a safe place to live, everything else falls apart. So it clearly is a human right, and it's nice to have it phrased like that. I don't have, I guess one question I might have is, do you have any vision for affordable housing in our town? Do you have any concept of how you think it should be done? And you don't have to have an answer for that, because I know you haven't, sat down and worked on that particular problem, but you may just have some thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I liked what you said about tying it in with the issue of transportation in our community too, and having more of a way for people to be able to walk to the things that they need to work, to shopping, to community places of gathering. So I think that's wise to think about integrating those two somehow in the future planning of affordable housing in Mansfield.
Terrific. Terrific. Thanks for that. That's absolutely so true. I can't agree with you more. Charlie, do you have any questions for Carrie?
I do not.
All righty. Well, Carrie, thanks so much for being here. Again, it'll probably be March before the town council actually makes a decision on who will be on the committee. You're welcome to stay. Oh, do you have any questions for us?
I do have just a couple of questions. I'm just wondering, I know this is the Committee on Committees and not the Affordable Housing Committee itself. I'm just wondering if you have an idea of what the time commitments and responsibilities of the position would be if I were selected. For example, I did see under I printed out the Mansfield Affordable Housing Committee composition and charge. And one thing I noticed was it said the term of appointment shall be 4 years. However, the initial appointees shall have staggered terms, so the 3 members shall serve for 2 years and the remaining members shall serve for 4 years. And so I wasn't sure if a certain cohort was going to be serving for 2 years and then another cohort was going to be serving for 4 years. The staggering part I wasn't clear about. So is any of this things that you can speak to tonight?
Yeah, I think I can answer that question. I think you've interpreted it correctly. The idea is to keep institutional knowledge, not have everybody ending at the same time. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay.
And
So-
in terms of who would serve in what capacity, whether it would be the 2 year or the 4 year, I don't know that we've answered that question, but it might be something we leave to the committee. Like we give the original appointments, and then if folks want the shorter term initially, then they can say, they can fill those slots. It might be though that we need to actually be specific. I would have to look at the charge. It may be that when we make the recommendation for the appointments, we'll have to put people in. Nobody's
Okay.
raised that yet before, but it's a great question. Do you have a preference for the shorter or the longer term?
Not at this point, but it does, but I do have another question that ties in with that, which is that, do you think going forward that you will be meeting, continuing to have like hybrid meetings or Zoom meetings going forward? I just asked because I do a little bit of traveling and I would want to make sure that I would be able to meet the obligations of being able to attend the meetings, which I would be able to do if it was Zoom, but perhaps not always if it was just in person.
That's a terrific question. Yeah, it's awful as Zoom meetings are. It does give us a great deal of flexibility in terms of our travel schedules. So at this point, right now we're on hold in terms of the pandemic regarding when committees will go in person. It will eventually go in person, but it's possible that it could be run on a hybrid model too, if folks had occasional absences. So the town council, for instance, in the future will be running on a hybrid model so that when people need to come in and speak, they might do it, from home or from even another state if they were away. So the world is changing on that end. And so I can't say definitively it will happen, that the flexibility would continue to be possible, but it's more possible now than ever.
Thank you. I just am thinking in terms of myself going forward, and if I were to be selected for the committee and made a commitment to it, I just want to be sure that I would be able to meet my obligations. So
Yeah.
that's
And
the purpose of the
generally
question.
speaking, committees meet once a month and they pick a date. So you can sort of know when that will be. And if it doesn't seem manageable, then that's sometimes things aren't manageable, right? That's
Right.
a reasonable decision.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
all. Thank you all for your time.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All righty. And now I see Kathy, who I'm so thrilled, given the fact that we served together on the ad hoc Affordable Housing Committee. So why are you interested in now serving on the Affordable Housing Committee?
Well, I enjoyed my time on the ad hoc committee. It was very informative. I don't bring a lot of degrees or anything like that to the position, but I try to bring a community involvement. As you know, I'm on planning and zoning and going on over 5 years now, and I'm a full commissioner. I enjoy that immensely. I like the idea of being able to work on planning for our community. The other reason I'd like to be on this committee is I'm a senior citizen. And the one thing that I hear, I'm in the Rolling Hills Park, which is an over 55 community. The people own their mobile homes, but they rent the space, the lot that they're on. This works out fairly good because if they own their mobile home, all they have to do is pay the rent. But it's getting increasingly harder for people of my age to be able to afford to live just about anywhere. As we know, taxes keep going up because the cost of everything keeps going up. And I really feel that we need to address this problem before it becomes a dire need type thing. And so I sort of can represent the older generation that needs it. I know the young people just starting out, they need some help at times. There's the single mother with 3 kids that needs help. There's the father with kids that needs help. And I would like to be a part of that governing process that tries to make it happen. Like I said, I enjoyed being on the ad hoc one. I learned a lot, and it did spark my interest in being on the regular committee.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, it was a great ad hoc committee, and I think we all learned a great deal. And mostly how important this issue is for so many people. And as I can't agree with you more, we got to think about our aging population, wherever they live, and whether it's aging in place in their own homes or moving someplace else. It's super important. Charlie, any questions for Kathy?
Only to say that she touched on everything I wanted to hear, and I think that her bringing her experience from planning and zoning would be a boon to that committee for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice when 2 different groups know when one group knows what the other group is doing. That's always super helpful. So Kathy, any questions for us?
No, I know that it would be a commitment of time, and I'm willing to make it.
All righty. Well, sure do appreciate it, and sure nice to see you again this evening.
Thank you.
See you soon,
Thank you,
I
Katie.
hope.
Yeah.
All righty. That's wrapping up our various interviews. And now we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the Human Services Advisory Committee charge. Sarah Ann, how's the best way to handle this?
It's an excellent question, Terry. So just as a quick recap, you sent the proposed revised charge for the Human Services Advisory Committee to the Human Services Advisory Committee for their review and comment. And I believe what we have here tonight, Victoria and Pat are here to kind of bring a summary and perhaps some specifics back to the Committee on Committees based on conversations conversation that the Human Services Advisory Committee had at their recent meeting.
Excellent. And what we're looking at here is a draft update that we created and sent to the Human Services Advisory Committee for their review. Is that correct?
That is
Yes.
correct. The draft that's in your packet is what went to the committee. We, for various reasons that I'm sure Victoria and Pat will go over, we do not have a yet a newly revised based on their notes. I think this conversation is the starting point.
All righty. Thank you for that, Sarah Ann. And I turn it over to Victoria and Pat.
I just wanted to communicate Ethel, who is the chair of the commission, isn't with us tonight, but she had sent, and I believe I forwarded it to Sarah Ann, some comments. You know, basically, I think the advisory committee was happy that this was being looked at, and have had for a while some possible recommendations of what they would like to see changed. You know, a couple of Ethel's concerns are, you know, it is a group that at times have, like many of the advisory committees, have struggled with getting quorums. Particularly since we tend to have a challenge getting people, they may stop coming to meetings, but not necessarily actually resign from the committee, which, you know, then makes it more of a challenge to get a quorum.
Can we stop right there?
Yep.
So take it issue by issue.
Yep.
So is there a process for removing folks who miss a couple of meetings?
Not in the current charge.
I think there is for committees in general, though. Am I
Sarah Ann?
correct about that, Sarah Ann?
Yes, that's correct. For appointed committees, non-elected. So for appointed committees, I believe it is 3 unexcused absences. The committee may take a vote to
Okay.
recommend, that person be removed.
So I would definitely recommend to Ethel that she begin utilizing that rule, getting a copy of that rule, and make sure that the committee is functioning as it should, and that the people who are on it are fully vested, because this is a super, super important committee, more now than ever. I see Charlie has his hand up.
And Sarah Ann, that differs from someone who's to an elected position in town, correct?
Yes, that's correct, Charlie. Elected positions are beholden to state statute in terms of service, and there is no way for anyone in an elected position to be removed except by their own request with written signature on a resignation letter.
Thank you for the clarity.
You're welcome.
Okay,
And-
so yes,
and,
that would
Pat-
be helpful, but I think her concern really is recruiting the number of committee members.
So what number
recruiting
would you like
entertaining.
to work with rather than 9?
I think she was looking at this. She was thinking maybe, you know, some of the places where there are 2 slots, having it be one slot was more. I don't know, Victoria, can you kind of comment on that? Would you? Oh, you're on mute.
Victoria, you got to hit the mute button.
You're on mute.
You'd think I'd have this down by now. So for the advocates for consumers, education, health, they say 2, we'd like to reduce that to 1. Same thing for advocates or consumers of senior services, and the same for advocates or consumers of affordable or workplace housing, or workforce housing rather.
So that makes perfect sense to reduce the number. The only thing is that brings us to 6, which is not a good number. So,
I have an addition.
all right, let's hear it, please.
But I don't see anyone here that actually represents someone who is a consumer of basic needs if they don't fall into one of these other previous categories. So, and I don't really know how to word this, but I'm a
Are
little,
you talking about
dated.
financially insecure?
yes, exactly.
Food insecurity, financial insecurity,
Well, we refer to
healthcare insecurity. Sorry.
basic needs and the purpose and the charge. And I think that we outline it very well there. And that includes what you're referring to. But I think we have to be more specific in the actual makeup of the committee. I don't have the words for this. I know that someone like me is good because I work for Wayne, which provides basic needs. But I also think that someone who fits into a low income category, who may be a working mother or who isn't, doesn't fit into one of these other categories, should be sitting on that committee, and we should have appointed people.
So we crafted language like this for the Affordable Housing Committee charge. So you're absolutely right. It's criminal, actually, that we didn't have somebody
Right.
representing a consumer before. I can't believe I missed that. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And yeah, let's add that as the 7th.
Great.
Sarah Ann, would you be comfortable trying to craft language there, or would you like me to?
Terry, I'm happy to take a crack at it. I will likely follow up with you at a later time just to make sure that I'm on the right track with it, if that sounds okay to you.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All righty.
Her other challenge she felt was the monthly meetings may not, I mean, at this point, they're doing 5 or 6 depending, and then adding special meetings as they might need. So,
So my worry is, can folks get their work done if it's not a monthly meeting? I mean, that's I'm not in the committee. It seems like we're adding more to your charge.
Absolutely.
so what would you say? I mean, Victoria, that would be probably your.
I think that, first of all, I want to thank you. I really appreciate the outlining of the charge of this committee. I've been on the committee for a few years now, and this is very, very beneficial to us. It certainly will provide us with a framework for what we have to do. And given that, I think that we should at least, I haven't talked to Ethel about this, but I think, let's kick it off with monthly meetings. But what I'd like to see is that we actually have schedules for those monthly meetings so that we know in advance, and I'm making this up, but January, we're going to be, talking about a budget, or, and then in the February meeting, this is going to be what we're focusing on.
Yeah,
Sort of
so-
what we would do with a board of directors for a
Yeah,
non.
so
Right.
I would have thought that your advisory committee was doing that, because I can't imagine functioning without that. So Pat, you staff the committee. Can that be created?
It can within the committee. I think one of the real benefits of having a very specific charge like you're doing, in the past, it was almost like this committee felt their charge was to basically be an advisement to human services in the town on our human services. Whereas I like the fact that you've brought in the charge now to talk about all human service issues, which absolutely go beyond just our department. You know what I'm saying? And I think that will give a lot more meat for the committee to meet and handle issues and challenges that have come up around the broad base of human service issues. I think this committee has, kind of struggled a bit with that. Is that a fair way to say it, Victoria?
Absolutely. And I also think that having something like this will be a good recruitment tool if
Yes.
it's outlined as to what it is, what the expectation of us actually is.
Correct.
And can I say, I think I probably speak for Charlie here. If I'm not, I know he'll correct me, but what we really want from the town council position is you all have all the knowledge. You're out there, you see what the problems are. We want you to make us do our jobs, like say, this needs to change. We need this in the budget. We need you to push us. And that's where I see your role. Sometimes maybe we'll need to push back, but I'm an MSW. I know firsthand where the knowledge is, right? And it's not where I'm sitting on the town council. It's you all. So in a perfect world, I you know, you're the ears to the ground. You know the truth. So when we think everything's perfect, or somebody else is telling us that everything is perfect, I want you to be the committee that's saying, no, 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 it's not okay.
Right. Right. As long as we have the framework in which to
Yeah.
do that, I think that that can happen.
Charlie, I
Absolutely.
know I jumped in. Did you have a thought there?
Well, well, no, it's actually two different things. No, you're right in what our charge as town council should be. But I wanted to ask Sarah Ann, is it within our town charter that we have to have these monthly meetings? Because I don't think it's anything statutory, right?
Monthly meetings are not statutory, no, Charlie.
No, it's per our town charter then.
I am not prepared to commit at this time without a rereading of our charter as to whether or not it's spelled out there, or if it is, you know,
Well, and here's
common
why I
practice.
ask. Here's why I ask. I just am curious if whether or not we have to have these meeting monthly per our charter. Do you understand?
And again, because this is an advisory committee, it's different. It's not, I don't believe it's established by the charter. It's established by a council charge.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's slightly different. And again, even if you set monthly meetings, they can always make the decision to not meet that month because they don't have business to discuss. Or if they need more meetings, they can add a special meeting. If a topic comes up or there's something, you know, and I mean, I know some groups have decided not to meet, for example, during the summer because they have a harder time getting a quorum and issues don't, you know, issues haven't come up. But that would be totally up to, you know, you may have a big issue that comes up over the summer that you do have to get together, or you might need to meet several times in a month because there's a large issue that you're discussing. So, you know, establishing monthly meetings doesn't necessarily tie them to just a monthly meeting, or, you know, canceling meeting if they can't get a quorum or there's not enough business to discuss. Correct? That's my understanding.
Yeah, Pat, I think you summarized it perfectly. And so the charge says a monthly meeting. And I think at this point, it makes sense to leave it as a monthly meeting, adding that it should be for the ease of the committee in terms, committee members for planning, that annually those dates should be established. Like, we're going to meet on the third Thursday of the month, so that folks know ahead of time for ease. And it may be that you all decide that within the year, you don't have to have all of those meetings, but boy, this year is a big year in terms of resources. So I hope this year that you will be meeting and have some really great ideas about how to spend the federal money and state money and whatever other money we might have.
That would be great to have our input on. Definitely.
Right.
Thank you. All righty. Anything else from Ethel or from anybody else on the committee?
That is just more, and again, you're right. I'm hopeful that with a more purposeful charge, it will be easier to recruit. And I think that people have really this, you know, during the pandemic, there has been a different eye on these types of issues, and definitely, you know, it has brought many things to the forefront that were less in the forefront in the past. So, and we know that it's just not going to end tomorrow. That's not what's happening, obviously.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the council taking a look, and this committee taking a look at kind of refocusing and reframing. So, and I think the whole advisory committee feels that way, wouldn't you say,
I agree.
Victoria?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have 9 members now?
Mm-mm.
So, or do you have 7 members?
I don't believe.
So I think we have 7 members, but I think the issue is we probably have 2 members that need to be removed, that have, historically, over at least the last period of time, one of them historically, I can't remember the last time that person was at a meeting. But another person, I did send an email to them and they did not respond to me. So that would be something that the committee would have to talk about, removing the person, I think.
Can people join this committee at any time, or do terms begin in
So-
January?
So
Or-
whenever there's an opening, and it would be just like tonight when you saw the other folks being interviewed. And then the committee on committee would make a recommendation to the town council to appoint the person. So if you've got folks in mind to replace, to get to the number 7, get the word out there. And
Sure.
Charlie?
Yeah, in Victoria, there are a number of standing committees that are in need of people. Just an FYI, and you can access that on the town website, and it would shock you to see how many committees have vacant seats.
I'm not surprised. I was listening to the housing and I'm like, gosh, that sounds so interesting. This is such a great need. Get in on that too. Yeah, we have a lot of resources and a lot of talent in this community. We should be able to recruit people to fill those positions.
I think with the pandemic, though, I think it spooked a lot of people and kept people away. And
Yeah.
hey, Pat, just as anecdotally, it wasn't me that hasn't been showing up to that, was it?
No. The other thing I do want to mention, because this has come up as well, particularly in this committee, but also in other advisory committees that I have, is do the members have to be residents of the town? Particularly in an area where you're looking at regional services and expertise areas.
I don't think so. I mean, it's not in the charge that it has to be a Mansfield resident. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
somebody who's going to add to the committee, and certainly we share services with Wyndham and with
Right.
Tolland and other places. So I would
Right.
think, yeah, living in Mansfield is not so much as important
Right.
as knowing what services are out there and what additional need is there.
And another
Well,
perspective.
we
too.
have one member, for example, who does not live. She lived for years in Mansfield and lives in Willimantic, but she works at one of the shelters, and she's also been very involved in senior programs and services. So, but she, Victoria knows this, she's always saying, well, I can, and she brings a lot to the committee. So I think that would probably make her feel better to know that, she's not taking a place of a Mansfield resident. And, it's great when you can, particularly if they're service providers or, have a specific expertise that really, enhances the committee. I would say in this case, it wouldn't be, and I didn't think that was an issue, but.
I mean, if we'd written it in that it had to be a Mansfield resident, then that's what the charge would say, but the charge doesn't say that.
Right.
So I don't see there to be a
Right.
problem. What we need is knowledge, and knowledge can come
Mhm.
from different places.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
would think
agree.
your consumer person you would want to be a Mansfield resident, but other than that, I really feel that if you're bringing an expertise in, it certainly broadens who could be approached as well.
Yeah, we should think of human services as a regional issue for sure.
Mhm.
All righty. Anything else that needs to be attended to?
No, I don't think so.
All righty. So do you think that the Human Services Advisory Committee will be okay with what Sarah Ann drafts? Or do you think they'll want to look at it again before we take it to the town council?
What
I don't
would you
think it
say,
would hurt to
Victoria?
take a look at it. I mean, I can turn it around in 5 minutes. Just
Mhm.
want to make sure it reflects what our thoughts are.
All right. Sarah Ann, can we do that?
Yes, just to be clear, would I be sending this solely to Victoria for her review and blessing, or would this be going to the full Human Services Advisory Committee at a meeting?
No, I don't advise that because we're reviewing agency grants at the next meeting and, that's going to take up the whole period of time. So I think Victoria and maybe Ethel would be the two people you'd want to send it to.
Okay, thank you.
Because you're really talking about wordsmithing at this point.
Right.
Right.
Alrighty, so it'll go from Sarah Ann to you all, then back to us, and then to the town council.
Mhm.
Alrighty, thank you so much for everything you do for the town. We'll see you soon.
Okay,
Great.
great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Victoria. So Terry, one of the reasons I was asking about that is because it's going to be federal money. And granted, we do decide on what the charge is. Was just hoping so that we cover our tail, that there's not language in there that says that they have to meet for a certain amount of meeting in order to be able to spend the money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that committee, the Human Services Advisory Committee, they're not spending money, they're just advising. So that it's a great question, but I think we're fine.
Just to cover the town's tail,
Yep, always makes sense to think that way. Should have
Yeah,
been a
yeah.
lawyer.
Well, I don't like to argue.
All righty, so I see Sarah Ann, we have some reappointments.
Yes, Terry, actually, I was hoping that you and Charlie could approve the 2022 meeting calendar. And then I would understand why you'd want to avoid the appointments in new business B. I would request if you think that we would be able to move the reappointments forward, that would be much appreciated.
We can certainly do that. So, Charlie, Sarah Ann sent us a list of meetings for 2022, which maintain our meeting date on, where are we? We're the
Second Thursday.
second Thursday of the month, is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
So does that continue to work for your schedule, Charlie?
My schedule is quite and rather open.
All righty, I like that. All righty, so Charlie, you want to make a motion to accept those dates for the 2022 meetings?
I would like to make a motion that given the where are we here? I got to get back to the agenda. Hold on. I'd like to make a motion towards, that's the wrong one, town council. To accept the calendar as written for the 2022 year regarding committee on committees and their meeting times.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, so we're in agreement. We're going to bump not only the appointments, but the reappointments to our February meeting. Do you need anything else from us, Sarah Ann?
Yes, I'm sorry, Terry. Did you say you did not want to do the reappointments tonight?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said you wanted to do those in February. Do you want to do them tonight?
That would be my preference, yes, Terry, if we could move these, get these folks reappointed.
All right,
They do want to continue to serve. Yeah, that's all
My
right.
bad.
Thank you.
All righty. So, Charlie, do you have access to the agenda?
I'm looking right at it.
All right, do you want to make the motions for the reappointments, the Recreation Advisory Committee and the Transportation Advisory Committee?
Can I do it as a blanket motion or do I have to do them separately?
Why don't you do the Recreation Advisory Committee as one and then the Transportation Advisory Committee as a second one? And remember, the recommendation is to the town council.
Okay, yep. I advise today's meeting for the Recreation Advisory Committee, terms ending 8/1/2024, Donald Field and Edward Baxter, for recommendation to the town council for approval.
All righty, I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And Charlie, would you do the Transportation Advisory Committee?
And secondarily, transportation, and I recommend for approval for the town council, reappointment to the Transportation Advisory Committee, terms ending 11/30/2024. Alex Bernier, Herman Gupta, and Michael Taylor.
A second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All righty, how we doing, Sarah Ann?
You're doing great.
We're off to the races here, 7:05.
All righty, do you need anything else?
Nope, just your adjourn motion and we're good to go.
Charlie, you want to give a motion to adjourn?
I motion, my motion here is to adjourn the Committee on Committees 7/13/2022.
All righty, I second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank
So
you
be it.
both. Really appreciate you being here tonight. Talk
Yep.
to you soon.
Thank
We
you.
pulled
Good
it off.
night.
It was as difficult as it was, we pulled it off.
All right.
Did
Take
great.
care.
Thanks so
All right,
much. Good night.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.